So here we are. Here is the tour of my Nintendo Switch Lite in the screen. We all know the first one I had is Barry Duke. It's basically a shooter. Used to eject to shoot the aliens and also get to the boss and collect those cute creatures like the orange guy. But do not shoot it. You need to collect them before you get to shield. And there is also do not select the alien that will lose you a life. I mean lose your shield. That means to use your hits. Bear Duke is definitely a good game. I played it. This I had. It is so difficult. It is definitely ported to the X68000 and also the 5th volume of Namco Museum for the PlayStation. Next up, you know my favorite Konami arcade game of all time, Bells and Whistles. It's basically Daytona Twinbee in Japan. It is a difficult shooter, and I played it a lot, ported to the PC Engine X68000. This definitely is my favorite Twinbee game, and I played the first time was on Galloping Ghost Arcade. It is brutally difficult, and I try to get the highest score as possible, but I will try. This is a really difficult game. And next up is it's Burning Force. So basically, it's Namco's version of Space Harrier. That you're a girl on the hyper cycle. Yeah, shoot everything, but you only move left or right when you're on the motorcycle, hypercycle. I mean, but when you get in the spaceship, you could move any direction, just like Space Harrier. Yeah, basically, instead of getting Space Harrier, I'm getting Burning Force. So it doesn't even matter. I still like Space Harrier, but this is I have it. The first time playing was on the it doesn't even matter. I played this one. It's definitely good music. You know, I see Mike Matei have Bells and Whistles, and for me, also Circus Charlie, I have one. This is basically a circus game. It's definitely a fun game. The I played when I was 8 was on the Famicom. It's definitely an arcade game, but they removed the trampoline on the Famicom, but the arcade version not. I played the first time a trampoline. It's not that bad. It's basically a circuit version of track and field. It is definitely a lot of fun, but the hardest course is definitely when you jump on balls, the trampoline when you're in the horse, and especially the swinging tightrope, which is, swinging the swing is definitely the hardest one, which I'm getting stuck at it. So basically, I like Circus Charlie. This is definitely I enjoyed this game. Next up is definitely the Arcade Archives. Is definitely Nintendo Versus System Cuckoo Land, which is known as Versus Cuckoo Land, which is set on the title screen. Oh wait, it's not. So basically, it is definitely a Cuckoo Land. I love the NES game, but the arcade version is to get a high score and some different music from the NES Black Box. So yeah, as I enjoyed this game, it's definitely, I love the music as the original. And there's also getting a high score, but it's impossible, which is 25,000 points. This originally, it came out on the NES, so I played it when I was 9. The Versus Cuckoo Land came to the Famicom Disk System in Japan. So overall, I really like this game of Cuckoo Land. This game is so nostalgic because I played it when I was 9. Then next up we have my favorite title, widescreen arcade game, Darius. It is basically a shooter. The coolest part is 3 monitors which combine them into widescreen. Yeah, this is definitely my first title game I played in widescreen, which is Darius. But my first Darius game I played it was Super Darius on the PC Engine CD. But it's a single full screen game, but it's not that good. I always liked the arcade version in widescreen. And yes, and I do have the sequel. It's definitely fun. It's Darius. And it was definitely ported to the Sega Genesis, which got in the US as Sagaya. But Darius 2, I like that name, but it's Japanese. as Japanese language, but I could hear the English translation in the beginning of the game. Even the best home port, my favorite port of Darius 2 is the Genesis. Is okay, it's definitely good, but even the PC Engine Super CD is definitely awesome. It's almost like the arcade version, but it's in full screen. Next up, we have a Donkey Kong Jr. It's definitely my first Nintendo arcade game I had. It was my all-time favorite. First time playing the NES when I was 7. And then I played the arcade version at Go Bananas as a child. And even I played the NES when I was 7. And I'm not pretty good at it, but the arcade it is harder, but I beat the NES game so easy. Frontline was definitely the first overhead running gun, but this is so difficult. But the Famicom port was a complete disappointment. It's slow. It is definitely awful. Even the Atari 2600, I did not like this port also. But even I like the arcade version of Frontline. The confusing thing is the controls is that you have to move to your aiming and firing. It's like a Ikari Warriors. Next up, I have Galaga 88. After I played the good PC Engine port, the arcade version is definitely I like it. You know I'm a fan of Galaga. After I played these other Galaga games like Galaxian, Galaga, Gal Plus, and then Galaga 88. It's definitely a fun game. Next up was the Harley's comic. Was definitely a good shooter, but the only way I want to beat this first level is definitely the Earth, and I had to shoot these comics and others enemies, or else they gotta crash into Earth. And it was porting it to the Famicom Disk System called Holy Wars. Even the Game Gear. This is definitely a difficult shooter. Next up, we have Lubble Rabble. It's basically like a kicks that you have to control of these two triangles. Love the music, and also created by Toshiro Iwatani, you know, the creator of Pac-Man. I love the music. It was porting it to the X68000 FN's Town, but my most favorite port is the Super Famicom. And I'm sad this one wasn't released in the US because it canceled. Did I look it up on Wikipedia that Midway was trying to plan this Lubble Rabble game, but unfortunately they never released and canceled it. Well, that's sad. At least until the arcade archives, and also the Super Famicom got the Evercade, part of the Namco Museum Collection Volume 1. Then there's also Metro Cross. It's basically like an obstacle course that you have to jump over cans and also the hurdles. And even you have to get these crushes, you have to stop the time by squishing the soda. And it does look like a giant Coca-Cola where you have to jump over. It is ported to the Famicom and even Namco Museum Volume 5 on PlayStation. I do really like this game. I love the music. Ordyne is like Namco's version of Fantasy Zone. Because why? Because you need to collect the money to get the speed ups and even some other type of weapons. But there is a bar where there is a meter on it, just like Fantasy Zone. It was ported to the TurboGrafx 16 and even the 4th volume of Namco Museum. And I enjoy this game. It is difficult. Falzon was basically a chemistry puzzle game. So you had to collect these icons, but all the icons are ran out. That means you have to do the stage all over again. And watch out for these balloon balls. That would took away. And you had to kill the right way to attack it. But when you hear that different sound effects. It was only ported to the 3rd volume of Namco Museum. on PlayStation. You know I love me some pole position too, but I couldn't figure out the controls of moving the car and the Switch. And the bits is and also is in Japanese. Well, why bother? You could still play it. And the third volume it was included it was port to the Atari 7800 was a packing game, and even the third volume of Namco Museum. And I beat the test course of the Namco Museum Volume 1. It was so easy. Because I knew they figured out the controls on PlayStation, but the Switch, the control moving the car is you could get off the road so easily. It's near impossible. It's not as smooth as the PlayStation. Euro Rainbow Island was my all-time favorite title arcade game. Is my number one. It's basically is a Bubble Bobble, but it's a Rainbow Island, and it's also part of the Bubble Bobble series. It's a really awesome game, and I played it as a teenager on my phone. It's definitely a really fun game. Ported to the NES and also PC Engine CD, and even the Game Boy Color and other ports. And also there's included an extra version. It also ported to the Genesis in Japan. So the original Rainbow Island has cute creatures, but now the extra version has replacing it with Darius characters. This is why they have that. And the next up, the best one is definitely before Shinobi, Rolling Thunder. I know Pat Country, the NES Punk, loves that game. His favorite Namco arcade game ever. It's definitely a really difficult game, and you could actually shoot those burglars. And you have to get those bullets like the original bullet, and also machine guns. And that music is rocking it. And it was porting it to the fifth volume of the Namco Museum Encore Volume 6 in Japan, also the NES. So yeah, I do like that game. But I only like the arcade version better. Even they made also their sequel, Rolling Thunder 2, on the arcade, but Rolling Thunder 3 was on the Genesis. So stay tuned. So next time I had to see these other ones. We have few Let's Go. So I'm going to check out part 3 of my Switch Lite. There's also these Capcom arcade systems, and also the Sega Ages series. So, Seiko Gomez, stay tuned for part 3 of my first Switch Lite tour.